Now let's take a look at building out page components. We'll open up that content template we were working on. And here we'll convert this menu sidebar here into a page component. Page components differ from content components in that content components can be inserted into the body of the editor. Like previously, we created the banner component and the tiles component. Now we're going to convert the menu into a page component, so this is just going to be in the static area. So to get started, we'll open up that template and find the piece of HTML that we need to deal with, which is this element right here, the menu. We're going to wrap that in a script type equals text / CMS component template tag. This is going to convert it into an inline component template. And with the page components, if we just save this right now, it's going to give us an error that we're missing an ID. So let's go ahead and add an ID to that. And we'll also set the target to page so that this will be recognized as a page component. Now if we refresh, we'll notice that the menu no longer works because we removed, by converting this into a component template, we removed it from the actual page. So we'll need to add an instance of that to this page. The way we add an instance is we use the CMS component tag, and we make sure that this name matches that name. Now here, since we have the nav wrapper outside of the component, we can remove it from here. And this will be a template just for the body of this element. Now let's refresh and see what happens. Okay, great, it's loading. So next step, let's go ahead and define the menu that we'll use in this template. In jsHarmony, the menus are defined on the menus tab on top here. So we'll add a menu. We'll call it the sidebar menu. And the important thing to note is the tag. The tag is how the page template is going to reference this menu. So we'll call this sidebar, all lowercase. We'll save it, and we'll add some menu items. So we have our home page already created. We'll link to that. And we have an About Us page. With these menu items, you can nest them, you can move them, you can create a tree out of them. But here in this example, this template only supports top-level menu items. So once we're done, we'll hit Save. And to use that menu in our template here, we'll need to add a CMS menu tag. And the CMS menu tag attribute, the value of that attribute is going to be the tag of the menu we just created. Now that we added this menu tag, we can use that menu as a variable in the render template for the component. So we'll use a JSH for each item tag here to loop over the menu.top items. And here we'll use the item URL with the link. we'll set the item text as the value. There are a variety of different properties as menu objects have. You can take a look at the reference for more information, but for now we'll also add a target. And this will allow us to have the menu items open up in a new window. So we'll save that, and let's refresh and see what happens. Okay, great. Now this menu is loading based on the menu definition we just created. The last thing that we'll do is let's move this into its own template, its own separate file. So we'll go here and add a new file under components called menu. Actually, we'll call it sidebar_menu to match the ID. And we'll take this component template, cut it out, and move it into our menu template. We can remove this comment. And we also need to remove that script tag wrapper as we moved it into its own file. And since the ID is going to get auto-generated based on the file name, we can also remove the ID. Now let's save, refresh, and see what happens. Okay, great. Looks like it's still working. So next step is, so we have this menu defined, and this template is not going to work unless you have this menu item with this menu tag configured in the system. So if you want to share this template with somebody else, you'll want them to be able to auto-generate that menu in their CMS instance. So to do that, we will add a new file to the templates folder called the siteconfig.json. And inside of the site config, you can use the menus property to define the required menus for the application. Now when we go to the menus tab, if we delete this menu, and now we go back, it's going to notice that we have that sidebar menu missing, and it's going to ask us if we want to automatically add these to the site.